For my independent study project, I did, with the help of Professor Watts and Dr. Stevenson at the geology department, and then my classmate Devin Burton, we were able to do a LiDAR scan of the banks of Mountain Lake. A bit about Mountain Lake. It is located in Giles County, Virginia. The lake covers roughly about 50 acres of land, water. It's at an elevation close to 4,000 feet. The top image seen in the slide is from roughly around 2000, maybe a little back towards the 90s of Mountain Lake, and the bottom image is the current today, or 2 weeks ago image of Mountain Lake that was taken when we were out doing our LiDAR scan. A little bit about the lake. It was formed by a natural landslide about a couple thousand years ago, and which dammed up the lake and created the lake. And since then, the natural dam has been leaking, and there's holes have been found, which is the reasoning for the water levels being so much lower. A little bit about LiDAR. LiDAR uses laser lights. The light is beamed from the LiDAR scanner, and as it bounces off whatever surface or ground or land that is desired to be scanned or around in the scan area, it is then returns, and with the amount of time, because the speed of light is constant, the LiDAR scan is able to collect that data and put it into its own form, and to understand and create images based on point clouds and based off that data that it was received from the time that the light takes to beam. The objective of these scans were to understand more about why the lake was emptying, to create point clouds of the lake walls, to use this data for multiple different circumstances. We use Cyclone to convert the LAS files to point clouds, and then mess around with Autodesk Recap 360 to try and attempt to combine the two point clouds. A little bit of methods. Select scan locations. We did 2 scans in this circumstance. Set up control points at the specific heights. Set up scanner location 1 was obviously the first step, and the parameters. So parameters is leveling the scanner, understanding the height of the scanner, observation angles, resolution, etc. And obviously repeat that with the second location of the scan. Next, input the data into Cyclone and convert the alias files to XYZ files. Then work on those XYZ files or point cloud files in Autodesk. A little bit about the control points. The control point 1, jump rock, is where we see over here, and just to the left is what is called jump rock. And to point 2, we call it the lodge point because it is right in front of the lodge. And point 3 is just left of the lodge, probably about 40 meters. The parameters that were set were, we ran the scans at medium resolution. The vertical observation angle for both scans was 70 degrees up and 45 degrees down. The horizontal angles for scan 1 was 270 to the left and 90 to the right. But for the second scan, we did 225 to the left and 90 to the right, because we wanted to collect a little bit more of the banks. So this is scan 1, the point cloud that we created from it. Obviously there's a little some editing, some fencing, and in here you can see where the grid is where the location of the scanner was, and over here is, you can see the lodge, and then this is a pontoon boat that they used to do some work, some research on the lake. This is scan 2. This one we didn't fence as much down, but you can see where it collected a lot of data from the trees, and you can see where the angle was further back for this scan to give us a little bit more detail, or not so much detail but area. And then you can see the lodge in that image as well. The results, we were not able to use control points because there wasn't the ability to see them and register them within the scanner. So that was not successful with using the control points, which ultimately affected our analysis. We successfully performed 2 scans. We got good point clouds of the scans though, and in future studies, combining those point clouds and being able to do so, since we were unable to do that, would be really cool, especially combining it with UAV point clouds. Speaking of UAV point clouds, this is one that we took also while we were out there flying a DJI Phantom. You can see it is almost a good amount more dense of a point cloud, and it didn't register the water very well. Obviously, there's a little bit of disturbances around the banks, but overall, the density of the point cloud is much better. In conclusion, obviously we said the reference points did not work out. The machine wasn't able to detect them, and we also were using Autodesk Desktop. We were not able. The software was not able to combine the point clouds, and since the reference points were not, we weren't able to see them. It was very hard to attempt to combine them in Cyclone, so we were unsuccessful in doing that as well. In future studies, it'd be very cool to obviously do multiple different types of scans and use aerial point clouds as well as LiDAR point clouds to ultimately take out the shadowing and make really good point cloud and other kinds of analysis for multiple different reasons, not just for this circumstance, but multiple others. But it was really good learning experience. LiDAR is very cool, and I hope to work with it a lot in the future.